At 10-13, arguably one of the most consistent and best strategies to use is the Super Bowler Smash. It's relatively flexible up against different base designs, also being a fairly easy attack to use, and of course, it's really strong. So I wanted to condense all the information from the army composition all the way into the steps provided into using this strategy. Now, with any attack strategy, we want to give you the army composition. It's relatively flexible, and you could either bring in the use of Yetis with Super Bowlers or Ice Golems with Super Bowlers. Personally, I prefer the Ice Golems, but it really comes down to your personal preference. The Siege Machine-wise is using the Flame Flinger, and typically I would recommend the use of a Dragon Rider and Balloons since it's not as much of a fragile CC as the Hog Rider one is. Now, unlike any other attack, the Super Bowler Smash is very easy to visualize. You basically just want to think about this. One side is going to be done with your Warden Walk, so one side of your funnel. The other side of your funnel is going to be using a secondary, which is either the Flame Flinger, the King, and the Witches, etc. Otherwise, then have an easy lane to move up the middle of the base with the use of Super Wall Breakers and Jump Spells, and of course the Super Bowlers along with your Queen and Warden to smash your way through. And of course, you'll have some space on the back end for the Royal Champion. That's the way that you should be thinking about bases when you are kind of reading them to use a strategy like Super Bowlers. But of course, this works on a wide variety of bases. It works really well against anti-3s, anti-2-star bases or ring-style bases, and its best type of base, the box bases. Of course, alongside base reading, you have Siege Machines, and this strategy is really flexible and can use a wide variety. Of course, the default is the Flame Flinger. It's really good if you are able to counteract vulnerable key defenses, such as Infernos, Town Hall, Scattershot, etc. Those are really going to be the things that you should look for before you actually think about using the Flame Flinger. However, there are times where you don't really need to use it, such as if there are a bunch of trash buildings on the other side and there's no key defenses, or if there is one large compartment, such as a ring base, that you can just easily wall break into and funnel. This is where either the Battle Drill or the Siege Barrack can come into play. The Siege Barrack is a bit more flexible, as you can either use it for funneling the secondary side, or you can use it to push in with your Super Bowlers, providing some nice additional support troops. However, the Battle Drill is another good one since it has a stun, and you can't really get that at Town Hall 13. So the stun brings a new added benefit to your smash attack. But of course, the same rules apply as a Siege Barrack, as you need to make sure that you are setting the other side of the funnel. Now, this strategy has roughly 4 parts to it. So once you've done your reading and you want to get in and you have your army composition set, you want to start off with the Warden Walk. This is pretty much the basic thing that you're going to start with, so you should by here at least have a level 40 Grand Warden if possible. Otherwise, you're basically using him on one side of the base to clear it. You can bring in the use of baby dragons to really help support and funnel him, as you want him to go in the right direction. Unlike the Queen, he's very easy to lure over. As long as you place high housing space troops, he should go in that right direction if he's not too far away from them. So make sure he doesn't wander. Outside of that, you also have the Flame Flinger. Now, this can be used on the opposite side as your secondary funnel, but this can also be used with the Warden, especially if there are multiple defenses that are going to counteract the Flame Flinger, such as the Expos and the Mortars. So you want to be very careful about those defenses. For the Warden Walk, just be very careful about taking too many point defenses or big name defenses such as an Inferno or Scattershots, as single target Infernos will, of course, melt the Grand Warden. So in that case, you might want to use a Rage spell with a freeze or a couple freeze spells to remove the single target Inferno. In other cases, all you really want to do is have your Warden Walk and the Flame Flinger go together. I find that this is a way better synergy and works really well on a lot of different bases, and you realistically have more flexibility with this since the other side of the funnel can usually just be done with the King and 2 Witches. Now, speaking of the Barbarian King and Witches, this is actually a really flexible option for a opposite side funnel or your secondary funnel. Basically, this is simulating somewhat of a siege barrack with the witches spawning skeletons and the king basically being your P.E.K.K.A. or your tank. Otherwise, you're practically just funneling out one side. You can bring in the use of more super wall breakers to support them, but usually if the base has a more open compartment or the outside of the base, the witches and the king get a lot of value from funneling there. And it really allows you to send your super bowlers in the right direction. Now, the super bowler smash is basically going in between your two funnels. You usually want to start off with a couple super wall breakers. This really helps because your jump spells at this point can get deeper into the base. As you're moving in, you want to use a rage spell initially. This is going to help your super bowlers do a lot of damage. Now, while they move into the core, this is where you're either going to be dealing with the town hall on either the left, right, or right dead in the center. But of course, as you're moving in, Grand Warden ability and another rage. This is going to help you in smashing and gutting the core. It is insanely powerful with just the amount of value that super bowlers can get underneath rage. Now, there might be some defenses on the outside or defenses that you missed, and that's where the Royal Champion comes in. Now, with all of that converging into one strategy, it is really strong, and it's definitely by far really easy to use. It's consistent, but of course, there's mistakes that you're going to make when you're using this strategy. First and foremost, you always want to protect both the Warden and the Flame Flinger. The Warden Walk is super weak to point defenses, and of course, a prolonged exposure to a ground expo is going to cause some issues. And unlike Super Witches, where a Grand Warden ability is kind of more of a nice thing to have, it's more of a necessity with Super Bowlers considering they don't have the same HP as Super Witches. So you really want to protect that Warden Walk and get that Warden ability to be in the core with the Super Bowlers. The Flame Flinger is the same thing. You got to protect it, especially from things like skeleton traps and Teslas. So try to bring in balloons or Yetis, and that's going to help fix that mistake. Now, I know I did a lot of talking here, but I want to give you a full replay to really understand how this strategy works and why it is so dominant. And that is what's nice about the Super Bowler Smash. It is a selfish troop, the Super Bowler. And since it doesn't need any back-end gamers like the Super Archers or the Super Wizards, it means that you don't have to juggle two troops that you're using for your Smash in order to be successful.